Today we have a very short lesson. It's just an extension of what you guys did yesterday. Very easy lesson as long as you understand that slope is the same as rate of change, which just means that it's our rise over our run. So if we look at what we have today, we have the same idea. We're still calculating the slope of a line, but today we have some words attached to the graph, which is not more difficult. It's the same idea. So in this first one here, it says option 1, find 2 perfect points. So in the first example we have here, I'm going to do this with option 1. And in the second example, I'll show you option 2. And on the back, you can choose whichever option you think you would be better at. Either one is fine, as long as you can get the answers correct. So in the first one, it says find 2 perfect points. What that means is it's a point that crosses the corner of a box. So that's a perfect point, that's a perfect point, that's a perfect point. So in this one, the origin, 0, 0, that line cut through the origin. So that's the easiest perfect point to choose if that's on the graph. So the first step, find 2. So here is 1, here is another perfect point. Very easy. Step 1. Done. Step 2, find the change in y. Find the rise. So it rises here, and then it runs here. So now we need to be very careful with our rise. It looks like it's rising 1 box, but we have to look at the numbers. If it was 0, and now it's 1,000, this thing just rose 1,000. So it's my rise over, find the change in x, or the run. So for this one here, it went from 0 to a positive 1. That number is a 1. So it went up 1,000 and over to that positive 1. So my rise number increased 1,000. My run number went over to that number 1. So my slope is very simply 1,000 divided by 1, which is the number 1,000. So we wrote it as the change in y over the change in x. Next, it says write the unit. It's going to be blank per blank. How this works, it's always the y per the x. So the y value is talking about feet per, and the x's are talking about minutes. So this thing is increasing 1,000 feet per minute. Per minute. These words are really close. I'm just going to space this a little bit better. Per minute. There we go. Okay, so that's option 1. So option 1, find 2 perfect points, figure out your rise number, figure out your run number. So if we look at this second example, it still says to find 2 points from my graph. So they gave me 1 point. It's right there. Another perfect point is right here. So you could do what we did in the last one, where you figure out how much it drops, the rise or fall number, and then figure out how much it runs. But in this one, I want to show you this with the second option. So what we have here is the ordered pair 5, 100. And then we have the ordered pair 10, 50. So yesterday you calculated the slope from 2 points. So today we can do the same thing. I pulled 2 perfect points off of my graph. Here was one. Here's the other one. Now I'm going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. 50 minus 100 is negative 50. 10 minus 5 is 5. Negative 50 over negative 50 over positive 5 is the number negative 10. So my slope is negative 10. I used this option which said take 2 points off of your graph. Okay, that's a point. That's a point. Plug your numbers into the slope formula. Easy. Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Then write your final unit as the y per the x. So in this one, the y is talking about the number of mid-sized cars. The word per. So it's number of cars sold per day. Number of cars they have per day. Notice this is a negative slope, which means that my line was dropping down. That's correct. So days after the start of the sale. So if you notice, the more days that pass, the fewer cars they have left. So my rate that it's changing is that we are decreasing 10 cars per day. Very easy. So go ahead and try the back. You can either use the method where you're counting the rise, how many it increased, over the run, or you could use the method where we take 2 points off of our graph, plug it into the slope formula, and then we get our rate of change. Either way is fine by me. Go ahead and try the back of this page. Okay, when you're ready, let's flip over to the last page of today, which is still rate of change, very easy, but this time it's the rate of change from a table. So again, there's 2 ways to do this. There's one where we're just looking at the change in y over the change in x, or the other where we're taking 2 points off of my table and getting the actual slope by calculating it from the 2 points. So in option 1, we'll do that one for number 1. So it says, find the change in y. So this is x, this is y. Here's a y value. So my y's from a 6 to a 12 went up 6 units. My x's from a 2 to a 4 went up 2 units. So change in y is that it's increasing 6. Change in x is that it's increasing 2. Now it says write it as the y number over the change in x. So it's change in y over change in x. And I get the number 3. So now it says write your unit as y per x. So in this example here, the y's were the dollars. It was the cost of balloons. So this thing is going to cost $3 per, and the x is talking about balloon. So the rate of change is the y per the x. $3 per balloon is what this table is showing us. So we could get the slope by finding how much the y's increase over how much the x's increase. 6 divided by 2 equals $3 per balloon. So now we're going to look at number 2. So in number 2, if it's difficult for you to figure out the change in y, like from 2550 to 4250, we have some change in y there. So we need to figure out what that change is. If you struggle figuring out the change just by looking at it, then it says take 2 points off of your graph. These are x, these are y. So I'm just going to take these nice 2 positive numbers off of my graph. So the first one is 325.50. The next one is 542.50. Okay? So now I have an x1, a y1, an x2, and a y2. So I can use the slope formula to get the slope of my line. Again, it's just the change in y. My change in y is 4250 minus 2550 over my change in x's, which is 5 minus 3. It's an ugly 3. Okay, so now we calculate that. 4250 minus 2550. So we would get 17 over 5 minus 3 is the number 2. So in this original equation, we had decimals here, which means in my final answer, this 17 over 2 does not reduce into a nice whole number. But let's turn it back into a decimal because these here are decimals. So if you did 17 divided by 2 in your calculator, it would give you the number 8.5. But since it's talking about the money, 8.5 is the same as 8.50. So now the last step, we need to write the y per the x. The y is talking about dollars per. The x is talking about lawns. So this guy is making $8.50 per lawn. Not too difficult. So try the same thing with numbers 3 and 4. You can either just find the change that the y had over the change in x, or you can take your 2 points, plug them into y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, and get your answer that way. Either way, this is the same as this. You're just showing the subtraction in this option here. So try 3 and 4, and then flip it over and go ahead and try the back. And then that's everything for today. Rate of change, which is just slope, which is just change in y, my rise number, over change in x, which is my run number. Very easy.